We've talked about the racist history of the Democratic Party stretching all the way to the present, but where's the racism now? The Democratic ethnic plantation has expanded greatly under Clinton and Obama. The historian Kenneth Stamp identifies the 5 distinctive features of the slave plantation: dilapidated housing, broken families, a high degree of violence necessary to keep the plantation together, no opportunity, no one gets ahead, and a pervasive atmosphere of nihilism and despair. Today, we find those exact features in almost every city the Democrats control, in the Black ghetto, the Latino barrio, and on the Native American reservations. This is racism's contemporary face. Democrats try to deflect attention to a few powerless white nationalists so that we'll miss the racism that is institutionalized within the modern Democratic plantation. Trump, far from being the problem, is actually making things better.
African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded. To make America great again for all Americans.
And watch the reaction on the part of the overseers of the Democratic plantation. And where's the fascism today? It's not Trump. He's an American nationalist who wants capitalism, limited government, individual liberty, and free speech, and nothing is more anti-fascist than that. By contrast, under Obama, we saw government control increase dramatically over banks, investment companies, energy companies, the entire healthcare sector, and education. This is state-run capitalism, which is the clinical definition of fascism. A second manifestation of fascism today is the deep state. The Democratic Party under Obama and Hillary used the weapons of the state, the IRS, the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, against their political opponents. I saw this with my own eyes, the gangsterization of the US government and of American politics. This is about as close as you can get to institutional fascism. And what about the fascist insistence on cultural conformity, what the Nazis called Gleichschaltung? Today's left calls this political correctness. They use political correctness to establish a stranglehold over academia, the media, entertainment. This enforced monopoly of views is also an example of fascism on the left today. James O'Keefe is the founder and president of Project Veritas, a group with an unusual mission.
The media has protected the sacred cows, the Planned Parenthoods, the NPRs, the Acorns, and now Antifa. And they've only given you half the story, so in order to expose the truth, we have to dig deep. We have to go undercover to unmask what they really believe.
What would you say is the ideology of Antifa?
Well, they don't believe in free speech. They don't believe in the democratic process. They don't believe in individual rights. They don't believe in anyone has a right to express themselves or even exist if it isn't consistent with their sort of revolutionary actions. In our undercover journalism, they actually joke about the fact that it's not self-defense.
Now, if I think of paramilitary organizations that don't believe in free speech or tolerance or the democratic process, I think of not just the communists, but the fascists. And yet here is an organization that purports to be anti-fascist.
Yeah, I think they have a lot more in common with the Mussolinis, the brown shirts, that in our undercover tapes, they're wearing black masks. That bears a lot more in common with the fascism of the early 20th century than they would have you believe.
Who is fueling or funding the groups loosely called Antifa?
Tom Steyer's name came up a lot in California. He's a billionaire. Another name that's come out publicly, open source records, has been George Soros.
George Soros is one of the richest men in the world. He styles himself as anti-fascist, but his own history has a different story to tell.
When the Nazis occupied Budapest in 1944, George Soros' father was a successful lawyer. He lived on an island in the Danube and liked to commute to work in a rowboat. But knowing there were problems ahead for the Jews, he decided to split his family up.
Schnell! Was machst du? Du Schweine Jude! Schnell! Los, los, los! Schnell!
And he bribed a government official to take 14-year-old George Soros in and swear that he was his Christian godson. But survival carried a heavy price tag. While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews.
I was 14 years old, and I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted godson.
Yes.
Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property from the Jews.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. It created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt?
No. Well, actually, funny way, it's just like in markets that if I weren't there, of course I wasn't doing it, but somebody else would be taking it away anyhow. In other words, whether I was there or not, I was only a spectator. The property was being taken away. So I had no role in taking away that property. So I had no sense of guilt.
Are you religious?
No.
Do you believe in God?
No.
The issue is not what Soros did as a teenager. It is that today, as an adult, he sees nothing wrong with what he did and would seemingly be willing to do it again. Soros' self-justification echoes an argument made by one of the most notorious Nazis himself.
During my work at the Gypsy camp, I came across Mengele and watched his activities. I personally observed him infecting Gypsy twins with typhus in order to observe whether the twins reacted differently or in the same way. Shortly after they had been infected, they were gassed. Do you believe that your father was responsible for this?
Personally, he did not assume he did it. He thought he is a member of a concentration camp. He is not responsible for it because he did not invent the concentration camp.
Enough big lies. It is time to tell the truth. The progressive Democrats are the true racists. They are the true fascists. They want to steal our income. They want to steal our earnings and our wealth and our freedom and our lives. They're trying to kill America by killing the economic and political and religious freedom of Americans. My wife Debbie grew up in Venezuela and has seen firsthand a prosperous democratic country give way to socialist tyranny. There, a fascist regime is destroying the lives of the Venezuelan people. Debbie prays that America doesn't go down this road.